Hi, my name's Brendon. I'm the Technology Concierge, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Sam Walters and Tim Dennis. Sam's coming to us from Sydney. He's from a company called Swish Hospitality, and Tim's coming to us all the way from the UK. Nice and early for you, Tim. Sorry about that. And he's from a company called Novaya. We're going to be talking about all things casting today. So welcome to you both. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks very much for having us, Brendon.
Hi, Brendon. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. I suppose we'll kick off with the first question. And, what is casting? How would you describe casting to somebody? Keep in mind, we're talking to hoteliers here.
Absolutely. So I think casting is very basically the future. It's the way that the TV industry is generally going at the moment. A lot of broadcasters now are focusing on their streaming applications. So what casting is the ability to be able to watch the content on your device via your TV, via something as in the Google Chromecast.
Gotcha. And this could be Sam or Tim. It's probably in the last couple of years that casting has really come to its own. I mean, why is that? Why is it that hotels now need to be looking at this? Why can't we just offer free-to-air TV and, the ability for the guest, I suppose, to plug in their laptop via HDMI? Why is that not working for us anymore?
Look, I suppose it's a perfect way to bring the home to the hotel room. So enabling guests to be able to stream their own content as they've watched it at home. So all their latest series and things like that, for the likes of Netflix, YouTube, etc. It's just a great platform to be able to cast to the larger screen. We essentially give the hotel the ability, or that bridge, to cast from their personal device to that larger screen. So yeah, it's just a great solution to have in a hotel environment, especially when you've got young children or you just want to relax in a hotel room.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I know I was talking to a friend the other day, and he said his kids stayed at a small property over the weekend. There was just normal TV, and his kids didn't understand what it was all about and why they had to sit there and watch these adverts. It's like, where's Netflix?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So basically it takes out all those ads and things like that. They can play their movies or their latest TV series, throw that to the screens. When it comes to kids, you've got the Disney app, so you can cast that quite easily to the larger screens nowadays.
Okay. And we talk about casting. I mean, some properties have just gone out and, purchased a consumer grade TV and put it in the room and said, well, I've got the Netflix app on it. I've got the Disney Plus app on it. What are the disadvantages of going down that path?
All down to security really is the main thing, and that's paramount. Obviously, data protection is such an important aspect of everyday life now, not just in hospitality. So the main thing is that if you've got the consumer TVs that have got the apps on there, you're still having to log in with your own credentials. So as we all know, in the hotel industry, that is a massive no-no. So that's the main reason for a solution such as the Novaya Car solution, is to make sure that you've got that security between the guest and the device itself. What you need to look for as well is obviously that with casting, everyone has the content on their own device. So they're not being asked to log into anything. And that's very important. There are so many different solutions out there at the moment that are asking you to log into apps or log into different networks and so forth. So again, what you need to make sure is that the guest data protection is of paramount importance.
I suppose adding to that too, Brendon, is it becomes a huge privacy issue. So what guests tend to do is they log into their personal apps, leave the hotel, and then they're stored on the TV. A huge one is Google. Google, as we know, stores passwords. So if they've logged into their Google accounts and things like that, the next guest that is coming through could essentially get their bank account details and things like that, which is something you definitely don't want to do.
Yep, no, you're 100% right, Sam. I use Google, and I have got a couple of my credit cards stored in my Google Chrome browser, but I don't let anybody touch my laptop, and I wouldn't want to log into a hotel TV using my own Google account, so that does make sense. It's probably a matter of convenience as well. It's quite clumsy to type a fairly lengthy password or username and password into a TV. That is, if you even know it, to be honest.
Exactly that. It can take so long, and like we kind of say within Novaya, the TV is a fantastic output device, but trying to input, like you said, clunky passwords, usernames, and stuff like that. And again, also as well, I mean, out of the three of us here, I mean, I'll be brutally honest, put my hands up straight away. I can hardly remember any of my passwords because I've got so many different ones for me. So that's the reason why I have everything logged in on this phone, just purely for convenience as well. And that's what the guest is after, is convenience, Brendon. It's they're looking for that home away from home experience. And you asked earlier on kind of why do hotels need to have cast? It's going to save them money in the long run. Again, a lot of hotels now, we're finding a trend across the globe. They're cutting pay TV services, so they're just offering a free to air service, and also as well then the guests, as I mentioned before, are bringing all of their content in already on their device. And also as well, I know that we've been locked down for the last couple of years, but again, Australia and the same over here in the UK, very, very kind of geared towards tourism. So also as well, it can be quite costly to bring in all of these international satellite channels. Yes. Whereas, and again, Sam can vouch for this as well, we're happy to share any details afterwards. We've got the analytics to show just the variants of different apps that are being used from across the globe. It is astronomical. So again, rather than paying a ridiculous amount of fee to service 1 or 2% of your guests, and you're going to pay these massive satellite subscriptions for the international channels, they're already bringing that into the hotel with them now. So why not cut the cost there and give the guests the ability just to watch it on a nice shiny screen? And also as well, branding. It's all about that. You mentioned about the consumer TVs. It's a good way with our solution. All you need is just a Google Chromecast to be plugged into the back of the TV, and you've got then instant branding and marketing capabilities to your guests.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. Just on that, I mean, we touched on there sort of the types of apps that guests are using. Sam, in Australia, have you seen any particular apps that are sort of more readily used on the TVs than others? Is it Netflix still, the primary app?
Yeah, Netflix is generally the #1 player when it comes to streaming. But in saying that, I've seen a spike in YouTube as well, especially in Australia. So YouTube are coming in parallel, I suppose, with Netflix, but Netflix is the #1.
Excellent. Okay, I think we've covered a bit of it, but just in summary, I mean, what is it that guests like about the fact that a hotel's got a casting solution?
It's the home away from home experience, Brendon, is what we're all about, and that's what we want for the guest, is to enhance the guest experience. How many times have we been in hotels all around the globe where you've gone into the hotel room, much like you mentioned earlier on about your friends, Brendon, you're scrolling through different foreign versions of Friends. There's only so many different languages you can watch Friends in, whereas though if you were at home, you'd be binge watching a series that you were watching on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or anything like that. So it's giving the guest the ability to be able to do that. We don't want to be sitting down and watching repeats or scrolling through endless news channels just to find something to kind of have on in the background. What we want to do after a long day, either work or travel, is to come back home and just relax and just put on Netflix, and then be able to sit down and watch the series that you'd be watching at home, so you don't feel disconnected from your home life. You're still able to, and we know, obviously, traveling quite a lot with our work, there's nothing better than being able to get back and just be able to relax and watch something that you've been watching at home, rather than, as I said, just scrolling through endless channels that you're just finding some things just to put on for the sake of it.
The other thing on top of that, Brendon, would be ease of use. The solution that a hotel chooses needs to be easy for the end user. You don't want to be downloading apps or anything like that. You just want to straight pass through. A lot of us out there at the market use QR codes, which is pretty seamless. It actually enables the guest to pair directly with the TV and cast quite easily. And let's face it, given COVID and everything like that, everybody understands QR codes now, from the younger generation all the way up to the older generation. So there's no gap there anymore. It's just seamless.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that is one of the positives, I suppose, to come out of the pandemic, is the understanding of what a QR code is From a hotelier point of view, then, I think, Tim, you mentioned obviously they can look at eliminating the paid services they've got, the pay TV services. Are there any other benefits from a hotelier's point of view in being able to offer their guest casting?
Absolutely. I mean, as Sam mentioned there, ease of use, the security, the knowledge that you're going to have the security aspect on there as well, that your personal data is secure. Also as well, you've got the branding and marketing, very important to hotels. With the Novaya cast solution, we're able to offer a fully customizable UI, so you're able to offer certain advertising. We've also as well got some properties that have actually sold that advertising space to external suppliers, so whether that be entertainment venues, taxis, and so forth. So there are ways of being able to kind of look at the return of interest, but the most important thing is the ease of use, the home away from home experience, and also as well the guest satisfaction. What do we want? We want the guests to be leaving satisfied. We want then the good reports and good reviews, therefore then increasing the amount that we're able to charge for the rooms as well. So that's really kind of the main benefits, I would say so, from our side.
Excellent. Okay, no, that's great, Tim. Sam, probably one for you then. So if I'm a hotelier, I've got TVs. They're only a couple of years old, maybe 2 or 3 years old. They've got a HDMI port. What else do I need? What is my next step if I want to introduce casting in my property?
Look, with this casting solution, it can work on anything with HDMI input or USB power.
Yep.
So we can essentially plug in a HDMI port 1 of the TV, and then the USB power comes directly from the TV itself.
Mm-hmm.
We highly recommend going hospitality grade TVs. The reason being is because A, you get 3-year warranty, B, better refresh rate, C, you've got the security aspect of the TV as well, so everything's locked down. For example, if a guest who has had a party the night before had the volume up on the TV and then checks out, the next guest coming in goes back to a preset volume.
Yes.
So little things like this are quite crucial, especially when selecting TVs. But in saying that, we can work on any TV. It's up to the venue and their budget. It's up to them which way they want to go.
Okay.
It's certainly a great option at the moment as well for hoteliers. Like we've mentioned, coming out of COVID, we haven't got bottomless pockets. The ability to go out and buy new hospitality grade TVs, again, is fantastic. We would advise that if you can do that, then certainly do. But we're very understanding as well that hotels need to obviously start making some money back. So this is a very, very cheap way of being able to upgrade the TV to, as I said earlier on, to give some branding, to give them the ability to stream as well, while then we're still welcoming guests back through the door. And we can also as well, and I know Sam's done this on a number of projects, look at a phased a rollout as well. So if you just want to obviously give the ability for the casting and the branding, and then as time goes by and you start introducing the TVs, you can start then obviously looking at kind of things like Novaya TV and other solutions that are available.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. Yeah, quite right, Tim. So I've got my TVs, not ready to upgrade them to hospitality TVs yet. So I'd contact Sam. Sam would come along, obviously provide me with a quotation, but then connect a Chromecast device to every TV, and then across the network handle security. What's involved from there, Sam? I mean,
so across the network, what we do is we install a secure router, which hands off from the guest network to our secure cast network. So that way the guest can't see the room next door, so to speak. Whereas where it's an open slather network and you're just putting say an off-the-shelf Chromecast, or you're using residential grade TVs, guests can actually see every other room throughout the facility and accidentally cast to the wrong room.
Yeah.
Now, again, this creates a privacy issue. The guest could actually cast the wrong content to the wrong room and actually upset your guests. So we stop all that from happening by putting in our secure gateway, which essentially only allows them to see their TV in their room.
Yeah. So they effectively, from what you said before, they pair their phone, for example, to that TV via a QR code.
That's correct.
And then once they've done that, open their Netflix app, you'll see a casting icon on your Netflix app, and away you go. It's up on the TV. You haven't had to log in. When you leave the property, there are no credentials stored in the TV at all. It's completely secure.
That's
Absolutely.
correct.
And we're also as well, we're able to be integrated into PMS. So we can also as well have the QR code, or sorry, the login expire on checkout. We can also as well, via the fully managed portal, you're able to set expiry times. So if, for instance, you would like every guest session to be expired at 11 o'clock every morning to coincide with check-in, check-out, we can also work that way as well. So it's another layer of security on that as well. And one thing that we only ask as well, compared to some of the solutions out there, all you need to do is when you enter the guest property, join the guest Wi-Fi. That's all you need to do. So a lot of other solutions out there as well ask you then to join another network when you get into the room, and again, that's just another layer then that's just adds more complication on for the guest. So yeah, we try and make it as frictionless for the guest as possible.
Got it. Okay. So just recapping, as you said, yeah, I connect to the Wi-Fi in the room. I turn
just in the property, so you don't need so just across the property.
Across
so
the property.
To be individually.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, correct. Yeah. So the Wi-Fi, as long as it's been set up properly, then
Exactly. Yes.
across,
Connect to the guest Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Just enter the property, connect the guest Wi-Fi, and again, also as well, depends how you work it. If you've got the PMS or also as well the Novaya Wi-Fi layer as well, what you are able to do is have that TV and device automatically pair. So obviously via the PMS or via our Wi-Fi portal. So you've got that option. So in an ideal world, in the general setup, all you need to do, the guest would walk into the hotel, join the guest Wi-Fi, go into the room, scan the QR code, open Netflix, press the button, select their room, which would be the only room shown, and away they go. That would be the very, very simple process to follow.
I suppose another key thing as well, Brendon, is to ensure that whatever provider you go with is true Google Chromecast. The reason why I say that is there's a lot of cracked versions circulating the market at the moment, which in itself deems its own problems. We are officially a Google certified hospitality partner. That in itself is quite crucial because there's a whole process that we needed to go through in order to appease the global empire, which is Google, to make sure that the solution is right for the hospitality industry.
Absolutely, and we've gone through some rigorous testing with Google, as you would expect, and to have the backing of Google just shows what confidence they've got in our product to put their name to it as well. So yeah, we're very happy to be working with those guys on lots of projects moving forward.
Excellent. Okay, so that does make sense. I suppose that leads us to the question, if somebody is looking for a provider, or looking for a casting solution full stop, what are your recommendations, your checklist in a sense? Make sure it does this, this, and this.
Sam, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, look, I can definitely take that one. So, look, I suppose it needs to be a proper Google Cast device. You need to make sure that they are Google Hospitality certified. Going cloud-based is probably the best option from a cost perspective. If you can go cloud, it's a lot better on the back pocket because there's no cost from a service perspective. You don't have to pay for a server, and as we know, servers do get old. So after 5 years, you have to replace that server. When you go to the cloud, none of that cost comes into effect. So I suppose they're the three major ones. Ease of use would be another one. Ensuring that it's easy for the guests to utilize the system and make use of the solution and want to use the solution. I mean, no one wants to have to download an app to use a solution and work out it's just too hard. They want it easy and quite fluid. Anything else you want to add there, Tim? To that
yeah,
sort
I
of
think
list?
the main ones you've touched on there, Sam, absolutely are you want to go with something that's accredited by Google, and we certainly tick that box. We've worked, as I said, very closely with those guys over the last 18 months to form the partnership. Also, as well, you want to make sure that you are looking at cloud-based. It just makes things a hell of a lot easier, especially over the last couple of years. We've still been able to implement products and solutions throughout the globe without being able to actually get on site. So again, as Sam mentioned, servers, so many different mechanical moving parts, you know they're going to break down eventually. Very high maintenance costs as well. About 98% of our issues can be resolved remotely. And again, we've deployed over about 15,000 rooms in the last 12 months, just across the globe. And that's also, as well, I said, during a pandemic as well. So that's what we want to look at. But also as well, you want to make sure that the guest is getting the best experience possible. You want the guest to be able to walk into the hotel, not have to worry about their data protection, their logins going missing, about what to watch on TV and things like that. You want to be able to them to walk in, relax, enjoy the experience, leave the property, leave good reviews, bring other people back, and then, as I said, yeah, it's really a no-brainer for the hotel. You want the hotel to be able to have a cheap investment. Again, it's streaming now is far overtaking linear TV. And again, even things with kind of movies and so forth, you look at some of the biggest movie studios out there now, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney, all of the content goes straight onto their streaming platforms. So it is a real great way of just giving that guest that home away from home experience, and a frictionless experience for the guest from beginning to end.
Perfect. No, that's just picking up on the comment of cloud. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but from our people watching this point of view, traditionally, when implementing a casting solution, there is network equipment required, in the server room to do that security. What you're saying with the Novaya solution is you've eliminated most of that. It is now actually in the cloud. So that means a reduced implementation cost, but also no real hardware except that router that you mentioned, Sam. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. So the router is essentially our gateway to the cloud, and it takes the traffic from the guest device, from the guest Wi-Fi to our secure cast network. So that's that whole security piece, and that's the reason why a guest can't see other rooms as well. It's the security measure that we take to ensure that the guest is looked after.
No, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So just in wrapping up, are there any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd be suggesting to a hotelier that's looking at casting now?
All your competitors are offering it, so you need to start looking at it, because it is the way, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, it is the way that hotel entertainment is going. Everyone is already watching their own content in their property. All you're doing as a hotelier by implementing a casting solution is giving the ability to brand, and also as well making sure they're able to watch it in that big, lovely, shiny screen rather than huddled over their device in the corner of the room. So yeah, that would be the main thing. Everyone else is doing it. So yeah, you guys need to start looking at it before you start falling too far behind, would be my advice to any hoteliers.
And make sure you choose, obviously, a good provider, do your homework, make sure it's secure, it's very simple to use.
Yeah, but always think about the guest. Is a lot of hotels look at cost and don't think about the guest experience and the guest journey. They just try and shoehorn. And again, Sam mentioned that there are a few rogue providers out there that maybe don't have the security or the functionality of a full Google approved solution. But it's also as well, they can kind of pull the wool over some hoteliers' eyes. So yeah, do your homework. Think about the guest experience. How would you be as a guest going into the hotel? Would you be happy to go through and join onto different networks and things like that? So yeah, really think about the guest journey and the guest experience.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, Tim. On any piece of technology you put in, actually step into the guest shoes and experience it from their point of view. Sam, any thoughts from your point of view?
Look, I think I've just got open a couple of sites. Wouldn't mind actually showing you some analytics that gets pulled from our devices on what people are actually casting and how they're using the solutions. Do you mind if I quickly share my screen?
You should have the ability now, Sam, to share screen.
Excellent. Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is a particular site. It's Richards in Adelaide. This gives you basically an overview of how people are utilizing the solution from a casting perspective. As you can see from the top, Netflix is the biggest player, and this has taken over the last week. We can also break this down to the last month as well. So just refreshes. So again, looking at the last month, you'll see that Netflix is the biggest player. Then we've got Disney Stan, and that's at this particular site.
Just on there, Sam, if you just hover over the over the Netflix, just on the pie chart on there as well. So as you can see, in the last month, it's as if someone has continuously sat down and watched Netflix for 17 days. So that's as if one room is continuously streamed. So that just shows the power of how much this is being used. Again, yeah, so if you think that you binge watch it, feel sorry for the poor guy that's just sat in a room for 17 days watching Netflix constantly. But again, yeah, it just shows the real power there and the usage that it's also as well getting.
Mm.
And given that we're only the 18th of the month, that's pretty powerful.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah,
that's right. So it's a great way to encapsulate obviously what's going on within your hotel. You can also see things like room devices, signal strength and whatnot throughout the facility as well, which is quite important from a casting perspective. You want to make sure that the signal strength is to a certain degree. We highly recommend negative, or if you know technical terms, negative 65 dBm, which is all based around that signal strength within the room environment. I'll just show you another site just to give you a bit of a difference. This is the Gibraltar Hotel. Again, this is the last month. You'll see here that YouTube is the favorite in this particular facility. You've got a breakdown of all the different streaming applications that are being used and a percentage and the number of minutes. So again, a great way to see what's going on in your hotel. A good tool to use from a marketing perspective as well, and to just showcase the solution.
It's interesting to see, though, we are seeing obviously YouTube, products like Foxtel Go, KO Sports, even Spotify, Disney Plus, Binge, all of them are there in one form or another. But YouTube and Netflix seem to really stand out.
They always seem to be the two powerhouses across any country, really, being brutally honest with you, Brendon. But again, what it does show there is, again, like I mentioned earlier on, is if you've got a lot of different localized streaming apps as well there. So again, for international travelers, it gives them the ability to be able to continue watching the content that they're already watching in their own country. So as you can see there, it does get crazy. I mean, we had one during lockdown, a property over in Abu Dhabi. During 1 month in the property, they streamed over 1 million minutes of content in 1 month. So yeah, that was a lot of people watching a lot of content in I think it was March, April last year. So it just shows once you implement it, it will get used. It's kind of like the old Kevin Costner from Field of Dreams: build it and they will come. If you implement the solution, they will soon start watching it, believe me.
I think you said before, Tim, and I've witnessed it, I've seen it myself. I've been traveling, I've been at a hotel without casting. I've just sat on my laptop and actually watched the Netflix series that I'm currently watching. It's just my ritual to wind down. And then I stay at a property with casting, and it's chalk and cheese. Watching it on my 13-inch laptop compared to a 55-inch TV where I can sit back on the couch, it just made it a much more pleasurable experience.
Exactly. And again, like you mentioned, Brendon, it's if you were given the option of going back to either of those properties now, which one would you choose? You're going to go back to the one with the casting option.
Exactly right.
Yeah, and it's really strange. Well, not strange. It's one of those ones. It's obviously a trend that people are following now, but it's when people used to charge for Wi-Fi, then that kind of started to die out, and then Wi-Fi became kind of equally as important as hot water in a hotel, and became kind of the be-all and end-all that you had to have free Wi-Fi, otherwise you would lose guests. Casting started to go very, very similar. People are now starting to choose properties based on whether they have casting solutions. So yeah, as I mentioned before, it's a lot of hotels are doing it now. So yeah, before you're kind of too late and you're losing too much revenue. And again, it gives you the ability to charge that little bit more for a room as well, if you are able to offer little differences like that. So, and again, the cost of casting, it works out pretty much as the same as you would charge for your toiletries in a hotel. So the same the hotel would pay for their toiletries per month works out pretty much the same as casting. So yeah, it works out very, very cheap for the hotel to be able to implement and maintain.
Even less, I'd say, as well. Yeah, I mean, it's a great solution to have. It basically goes hand in hand with what guests expect and what guests want out of a room. You know, they just want to get home and get back to their series, or they want to catch up on their KO sports, or you know what I mean? It's just bringing that home away from home experiences, which is essentially what you're trying to achieve in the guest rooms.
Yeah, exactly right. Tim and Sam, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you both and learning all about casting. Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it, Brendon.
Thank you so much for having us.